In the last episode, I shared a long forgotten blog post which covered a routine Ido shared entitled Podkatchka. A lot of people joined in, shared that bit of nostalgia and also how Ido influenced their own training journey. Among that was requests to see part 2, the other workout, the straight arm version, which is going to be focused around sort of planche, front lever, all of that sort of good stuff. And one thing I did mention at the end of the last video was when it comes to making long-term training progress, the key is matching up your current situation with the best thing that you can do right now. As a coach, most of my time is spent around trying to figure out what somebody's adaptive capacity is. How much energy do they have to commit to doing training and recovering from it? Now, people might just say, you just need to recover harder. And I love ice baths, sauna, that sort of stuff as much as the next person. I literally built a sauna in the back of a horse box, but I think their impact on recovery is pretty negligible. The main levers that we have to play with are sleep, proper nutrition, and then stress management. So unless your intention is just to hop on a cycle of steroids, I'd probably just try to manage your training. I know it sounds super simple, but I've made the mistake so many times thinking that I just feel like I should be doing more, and it's not always the answer. Anyway, let's jump into some training and get things set up. So as I mentioned, this is on straight arm skills, planche and front lever. First up, for the front lever, we've got some lever TikToks. Very much like a 360 pull, however, we're limiting range of motion between those two hardest lever points. Helps you understand where that lever position is, but also gets you used to not just lowering past it, but pulling and actively holding back out of it. I'm adjusting the intensity over this set, sort of bringing those legs in, reducing the lever as I fatigue, but the idea is make it hard for those 1, 2, 3 second holds. Slightly more conservative on the back lever as I'm just waiting for connective tissue, elbows, shoulders. Rather than directly working on the planche right now, I'm actually focused on the Stouder press because my next goal after 5 handstand push-ups this year is 5 Stouder presses. Like the skills in the bend time session, I'm using cluster sets here. So we perform 1 rep, we rest 10 to 20 seconds, perform another rep. This is a fantastic method about taking maybe 1, 2 reps to 3, 4, and 5 reps because we're kind of extending the entire set out by having a little bit of rest. My goal here is to build up reps, and once I hit kind of 5 reps very, very comfortably, I'm going to start connecting them into doubles and triples. Back to front lever, we're going to be working half front lever raises. When we think about straight arm skills, we need to think about shoulder angles, and the angle you train at is very important. So with TikToks, we kind of covered this top 180 degree portion. These half raises are covering that bottom range from dead hang to front lever. Because you're slightly stronger in this position, I can use a harder variation and focus on just lifting and using a bit of that momentum, holding briefly and lowering back down. It's almost like slightly overloading the pattern. For press, we're going again for more reps, but easier. So I'm just using standing press variation. I'm using clusters again because I'm a big fan, but this time I'm going for kind of 10 to 15 repetitions. I do like using multiple reps, like 3, 4, 5 reps on straddle presses, but I find that first initial lift is definitely the hardest element, and sometimes when you're performing multiple reps without touching the ground, you kind of miss out on that extra bonus. So I prefer to do high rep presses in this way. The final part of this particular drop set for front lever is the skin the cat. So whereas we've had specific range at the hardest we can do, we've then done a little bit more and the range we've missed, and now it's about using the fullest range of motion, doing it for higher reps or certainly higher time under tension, and kind of building a little bit of that strength through range of motion. As I mentioned, I'm just allowing kind of shoulders, connective tissue and the shoulders elbow to catch up to my strength. So I think skin of the cat is basically a very, very easy back lever. The final exercise, the reverse plank press, we are training the only part of the pressing range that we haven't yet, and that's the pressing the shoulders through extension. The focus here is kind of starting in what would be a supported L-sit position, so that's still like the bottom of a Stouder press, for example, and then just pressing backwards, lifting the hips up. If you want to make this harder, we'll use straight legs, and then that way you're going to be pressing much more. But I'm performing this now for like 15, 20 reps. Bent legs is more than challenging enough for the moment. This theme of simplifying and minimizing isn't just for training, it is a passion by today's sponsor, which is Vivobarefoot. When I can't be barefoot, I want my footwear to be as minimal and stripped back as possible. That's why I've worn Vivos for like the past 7 years. Whether it's training, hiking, or just day-to-day wear, I want my feet to feel and move more naturally. If you want to grab yourself a pair, then you can get a nice discount in the description down below. Other than that, let's jump back into part B. We're still trying to keep the intensity, keep the drop set, but we're reducing complexity. So rather than sticking with a stouter press, which requires balance, I'm going to be using a tuck L-sit to tuck planche. This helps me work the hardest range of motion, or the most challenging portion of the stouter press, but it's much more simple to balance, so I can focus on just pressing and just building up time. 3-second pauses in each of the positions. We're using a similar method for the front lever, and that is basically front lever extensions. So we're holding a front lever position, we're holding it in an easier variation like a tuck, and then for a few seconds, you're going to try and extend the legs out as much as possible, so it kind of gets to that point in which you feel like you're going to fall. Hold it for a few seconds and then pull back inwards. Obviously this is going to reduce as you fatigue over the set, but it's a nice way of just building up a little bit of time at those harder intensities. Next up on the press, we're doing the same thing but simpler press walks. This helps to focus on the hardest portion of certainly a standing press, which is that initial lift, starting off with 5 backwards, 5 forwards, backwards being harder. Again, the focus is just on doing more reps and the hardest or the weaker ranges of motion, and not necessarily relying on balance to complete it. For the front lever version of this, we've got the inverted deadlift. I'm actually a massive fan of this exercise. I think it's really good, especially for strengthening kind of the horizontal to the top range of motion in the front lever. If you perform this on a bar especially, it is really challenging because the bar makes the legs hang over that much more, and it can really force you to drive down and pull with the lats to get the hips up in that top position. Finishing up here with the kind of core elements of today's session, we've got hanging leg raises. I'm using a tuck variation here because I'm just looking to do reps. So the goal is 15 to 20 reps. I simply can't do that with straight legs. Tuck legs is not a problem. We're still training the same muscles the same way, but we're doing more volume. And this is where now the core work starts to happen. At the end of the last session, we did kind of a leg flexibility based thing with some isometric holds. I'm doing some arch body lifts here, and the main reason for this is that I don't have equipment to do a back extension. If I had access to be able to do a back extension, I would be doing that. I just like training outside, and this is the best lower back exercise I could do for the moment. I'm really trying to incorporate the whole upper body as well into this, so kind of feeling it peel, lift the shoulders back and head up, because the body will go where the eyes follow. 20 to 30 reps here, so again, just like nice high volume kind of strength endurance stuff. And then something for the obliques. Again, I would use like an oblique crunch on a back extension here if I had access to it, but we're kind of doing a gymnastics classic side plank with some little bounces, so we're moving in and out, using the shoulder to push and lift the hips higher. For this one, I really don't think the particular exercise is that important. I would say pick a lower back exercise for 20 to 30 reps, pick an oblique side bending exercise for 20 to 30 reps per side, and like you could each session change up and mix it up with whatever you feel like doing. This is now, I think, 3rd or 4th week of giving this program a go. Now, I'm not going to claim that it is the ultimate program again, but for me right now, it is pretty spot on. And most importantly, I'm enjoying doing it. Like, it's a different style of training, and the focus, the kind of intention, it just fits with the mood right now. So yeah, as always, any comments, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought, if you're gonna give it a go, maybe what modifications you might give. And yeah, as always, thumbs up button, subscribe button is down below, don't miss out on any more future videos, and maybe I'll share kind of what the results are 8-10 weeks into this one. Take it easy, catch the next one, have a strong week, peace.